Hi there, this is Steve Spurrier. You can join University of Florida Hall of Famer Shane Matthews and also the two-time SEC Player of the Year every weekday as he brings you all you need to know about the Florida Gators, including news, analysis, opinions, and some of the biggest names in sports. You can find him on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. Or you can watch him live at 8 a.m. on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter.
Good morning. Welcome to a Friday edition of PodUp with Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to carry. Made it to Friday, folks. Got a lot to talk about today. We'll talk to JC. We'll also have Jeff Cardozo, voice of the Florida Gator baseball team. Be joining us. Regionals start today, noon. Texas Tech and UConn face off, and then about 5:30ish Gators and the FAMU Rattlers go at it. Softball, 3 of the 4 games were played last night. They had some weather issues, shockingly. Alabama gets destroyed by Tennessee. The semis ruled Okie State, and I believe Oklahoma won. I think the other game is the one that got canceled. I can't even remember. But anyway, Utah game got canceled? Okay. Yes. JC, you're on the Titan Tomorrow hotline, by the way. What do you think about that?
I think it's great. QB, listen, well, first of all, let's all be thankful the weather's going to stay away. We're going to get this regional in. It's going to be beautiful weather. Should be packed houses out there at Condron. And I certainly think that, this is what we've all been waiting for. So this is great news. The weather's going to go south. We're going to see baseball. That's wonderful. And the Gators should be able to advance to the Super Regional. That's what I fully expect will happen. I think it will happen. I think most of the SEC teams who are hosting will win. And certainly I think there will be more SEC teams in Super Regionals than any other conference. Speaking of conferences, QB, what did you think of the vote they had yesterday in Destin to remain at 8 football games for the 24 season?
Yeah, I saw that. I could care less, quite honestly. Okay. I mean, it's like politics, JC, and a lot of things like it's out of your control. Ain't no reason for you to lose any sleep over it. I know you as a season ticket holder wants to do this, wants to do that, but there's not a damn thing you can do about it.
But QB, whether there is or isn't, you can have an opinion on it, and I think it sucks for the fans. I think we want to pay to see more conference games than we do not. I know there are out-of-conference commitments that the league has. I also know that they're going to try to get more money out of ESPN to have 9 games, okay? And that's not a guarantee. If you take a look at Disney's stock price right now, you would know that. Nothing is a guarantee coming out of that company with all the layoffs. But the point is that if it just means more, then show me it just means more, all right? Instead, we're going to get 8 games with 16 teams in the league. Now, they did leave it open for more games in the conference starting in 25, so we'll see if that happens. All I want to do is see Georgia play at Texas A&M. If they don't play at Texas A&M, then they never will play at Texas A&M because they never have played at Texas A&M. They have never played at Texas A&M. Here's a great quote from Brett McMurphy. Teams playing at least 10 Power 5 opponents in 23. We have 2 in the SEC of the 14 teams. Guess which 2 they are, QB? Go ahead.
Okay, say that one more time. There two teams are playing at least 10 games against Power 5.
10 Power 5 opponents in 23. There are only 2 out of 14 in this league. Who are the 2?
All right, I'm going to say the Mighty Gators.
That is correct. And we don't care about the other one. I think it's South Carolina. The point is that these guys play a lot of trashy games. Fans are tired of it. And they're going to continue that in 2024 with 2 added members to the league. That's not leadership that I would expect, but that's what they want to do. I will say this, having said that, the SEC, doesn't have to explain itself when it comes to playing out of conference games. Florida will play Utah and Florida State this year, FSU and Miami in 24 and 25, North Carolina State, California, and FSU in 26, California and FSU in 27, Colorado, ASU, Arizona State, and Florida State in 28. SEC teams are not padding their schedule with FCS opponents. So that's a fallacy that you hear from all the morons in the Big Ten and in the ACC and so forth. So don't listen to that. The Georgia Bulldogs beat TCU by 100 points in the Cotton Bowl or in the national championship game last year. Tennessee beat the ACC champion by 17 last year. Alabama beat the Big 12 champion by 25 last year. I mean, okay, so we can play against these other conferences. That's not an issue. The SEC is just waiting to see. They take things very deliberately, and I just wish they'd play 9 games. But this is not what they want to do right now. Doesn't mean they won't do it in the future, and that's about it. But Georgia
I
has.
I think it'll definitely change. I just don't know why, if they're going to change it, why they won't do it now. But yeah, what you're talking about, I saw Brett McMurphy tweet here. He says the big teams playing at least 10 Power 5 opponents in 2023. 13 of the 14 Big 10 teams are playing 10 teams.
Yes.
11 of the 14 Big 12ers.
Yes.
10 of the 12 Pac 12ers. And 10 of the 15 ACCs, 2 of the 14 SEC teams.
Well, that's right. But again, QB, what I just said, and I don't need to repeat it, they are still contracted to play out of conference games. I just gave you some of Florida's for the next 5 years. I don't know if that whizzed over your head or not, but that's okay. But nobody wants to see McNeese State. Nobody wants to see Charlotte. Nobody wants to see Ball State. Come on, enough. That's not what we're doing this for. And listen, there's a lot of money involved in this. And the TV, the big issue to me is that ESPN hasn't told the league it's willing to spend more for that 9th game. And I think that's a hang-up. I think that's always going to be a hang-up because it's about the money. And so I guess they're going to work on that deal. They're going to negotiate but like I said, Disney is not in the mood to spend more than it needs to, because all you have to do is look at its stock price. All you have to do is look at all the layoffs at ESPN. All you have to do is just pay attention to what's happening to the people.
Well, they just gave a lot of money to old boy to take his show over there, Pat McAfee.
I know that's not the kind of money I'm talking about. We're talking about money that ends with a B. So listen, I don't think it's a big deal right now, because let's face it, it still feels like to me 24 is a long way away. I'm glad that Texas and Oklahoma are joining. We still got to get through this year, just as it was for everything. But when the playoffs start with 12 teams in 2024, and when you add Oklahoma and Texas, and you stay at 8 games, I think you're doing a disservice to the fans. But again,
Joseph says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mellon Law, Nick Saban is the main one that didn't want 9 games, right. So he got what he wanted.
Well, look, he usually does, right? But he was upset about the formula for playing the 9 games and the 3 permanent opponents. We'll see how that evolves, because that's going to have to evolve if they ever play 9. And like I said, they are leaving it an open-ended window at the end of the 24 season to adjust the scheduling in 25 and the years beyond. But QB, you got 8 teams, 8 games, and 16 teams, man. Don't the Gator fans want to see Texas come in here? Don't you want to go play at Norman, Oklahoma? Don't you want to have that opportunity? Or do we just want to play Vandy in South Carolina every year and just shove this down our throats every year, the same thing? And that's okay. I mean, the SEC is what it is. I gave you reasons why they have no problems playing other teams. They have no problems with success playing other teams. All that is documented. We all know it. It just doesn't seem to mean more when you don't have more games.
What is documented success?
Well, I just told you the postseason, with the way the SEC performs, we've won 5 national championships. We won all those bowl games against the other conference champions last year. We have.
That's what Greg Sankey. I read a comment of one of his comments yesterday on the show with Brent Beard. He's like, "We are the best league in football." Did you not watch the national title game last year?
Sure.
So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if we play freaking 5 conference games or 12. We're going to dominate everybody we play in postseason, basically what he's saying.
And that's what happened last year. And listen, Florida is one of the 2 schools that voted, or one of the 5 schools that I think voted for 9 games. And if you look at Florida's schedule going forward, there's a lot of games against Pac-10 teams. There's a couple of games against ACC teams. It's not like Florida's padding their schedule with garbage teams. It's part of the out-of-conference schedule contractual commitments that this league has with other teams. I think Alabama's playing Wisconsin up in Madison or something. I think something like that is.
You're playing the fighting raging Bulls down in Tampa this year.
Can't wait for that. But see, the problem with that, QB, and I would love to go to that game, but the same day that happens, they got Tennessee over here. I want to go watch.
One's a day game. Tennessee's at 7 o'clock. You can do both, JC.
I mean, come on, get me your helicopter, and I'll be there. All right. I mean, no problem. I'll go watch Alabama play the first half in Raymond James. Fly your helicopter up here and watch Florida play Tennessee.
Or you can get in your Corvette and drive 2 hours and be here in plenty of time before the game kicks off. How about that?
I'd have to leave at halftime.
Why would I want to waste my time with my helicopter on you?
Because I'm important, and you would do that for me. Just like you got me. Look at this. Look at this. You see this? Look at that.
Swinging Gator.
It's the blue striped shirt. And so
that's the baby blue. That's the baby blue striped shirt. That's one of my favorites.
It's just absolutely so sweet. I'm wearing this shirt, this exact shirt, to the Utah-Florida game in Salt Lake City in August.
You're going to wear that one or the other blue one I got you?
I could get the other blue one's just as beautiful. So it's going to be one of those two. The only thing I'd ask you is I need the swinging Gator on a relaxed fit hat like this. You can get them at Gator Golf Day. Let's get that done, please.
Yes. All right. Rick says, relax, JC. Blood pressure is too high this morning.
No, I mean, listen, everybody had the expectation that they would expand the scheduling, and they've given us all these reasons why they don't want to do it. It's word salad to me. The fact is that if it just means more, then let's see it mean more in the stadiums, on the campuses, against each other, when you're adding 2 teams to go to 16. My goodness. I mean, again, Georgia has never played Texas A&M. They were supposed to, but COVID ruined that game. And it doesn't mean they couldn't have still played that game just because of COVID. They played 10 conference games, and Georgia still hasn't gone to Texas A&M. How many times has Florida gone to Texas A&M, QB? At least 3. So, I mean.
When did A&M join the league?
I had to be something like 11, 12, 13 years ago. And maybe it was longer. But my goodness, Florida played Johnny Manziel in the first game in Texas A&M, then the Malik Davis fumble game, and then we had one more game down there. And Georgia has yet to even travel to Texas. And then look at their schedule this year, Georgia. Dear God. So I mean,
well, this is what everybody used to say about Alabama. You know, everybody thought they were in cahoots because the league office was in Birmingham and they got all the things go their way. Well, now it seems like Georgia does. So Florida, Dan says Florida's been to A&M 3 times. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, 3 times. Yeah. So and I mean, it's great. Didn't A&M come here once? So they played,
yes.
And A&M played at Athens once. So Florida's played the Aggies 4 times. Georgia's played them once. All of this just doesn't wash. When you play 8 games, you sometimes a graduating class might not get a chance to play somewhere on the road during the rotations because of the way it takes. Yeah, and that's not good, man. Everybody knows it, but they're just kicking the can down the road. They kick the can down the road because they can't make a damn decision. And remember this about your boy Sankey. Everybody thinks he's the greatest, and he's a good guy, and he's very smart, and he's a good commissioner. But let me tell you about Sankey.
He's a good guy.
He's the guy who waited for Swofford and the ACC folks to make the call on COVID before he did. The SEC didn't innovate or lead during COVID. It was the ACC that made that decision first, and then the SEC followed because they wanted to see what those guys do. We're looking at the same thing. The SEC wants to see what ESPN wants to do with the money before they say, here's 9 games to show. So I'm convinced that's what it is, and you'll have to give me a reason why I'm wrong.
Yeah. Dan says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Meldon Law, they better make a swinging Gator National Championship shirt. Can you work on that, Shane? I'm pretty sure they will. You know, JC, what people don't realize, a lot of people think this swinging Gator is brand. This thing has been around for years, but they only allowed Gator golf boosters to get a shirt or a hat or what have you.
They need to make some money off
this year. This year, for whatever reason, the UAA got smart. Yeah. And now it is sold in their pro shop. It's sold on Fanatics, and it's the best logo we have. And they've wasted many, many years not capitalizing on that logo, and now they can. And I tweeted after we won the national title that could we give a little bit of NIL money from all the polos that are getting ready to be bought to the boys on the team?
I mean, I'm all for it. I can write a check right now for whatever amount I want and go send it straight to Fred Bionde's inbox if I wanted to. And the thing is that this is a team that can't even hit drivers on their own practice range, okay? Because it's not big enough. You know why? Because they don't have enough room between Newberry Road or University Avenue bypass and 34th Street. How about, since the city's going to crap all over Ironwood and shut that down, why don't we stick $15 million into that property and let the Gators have that whole entire place to themselves? And who knows about what kind of idea do you think that would be? Well, the problem is they'd lose money, right? Because nobody wants to play golf on that part of town. But the Gators need more on the facility side, but they're constrained by space. And my dad played golf there for 50 years. I've played golf there for 30 years. You've played golf there for 20 years. And I think it's a great course, but I just think it's amazing that they're able to win with the lack of practice facilities there. I think it's amazing, really. I really do.
Yeah, I agree. JC, everybody wants you to send them money now, JC.
Well, why? I mean, why? Go win a national championship. Maybe I'll send you a check.
Rick says demolish all the buildings north of Radio Road. Well, I don't even know where Radio Road is.
Radio Road. Is that? Oh, that's Tower Road. I want to say that's Tower Road. But there's room out there. But no, I'm talking about a golf place. And Ironwood is a dilapidated, city-owned golf course that doesn't get any support. And it's a great place to go and throw away 4 hours of your life and then have a beer at a very cool bar. But the facility is government run. It's lousy. All right. They could throw some money in it with this new TV money they're about to get from the ESPN folks that I just mentioned earlier in the show, and put the Gators at Ironwood and put $15 million in that place.
No. If you're going to do that, they just need to do what they've been talking about for many, many years, and we're still keeping our fingers crossed. It's going to be out west.
It's not going to happen. I think it fell through. The landowners don't want to play ball.
I know, but whatever. All right, we got some text on the Titan Mark text line.
Okay.
This from Daryl. Daryl says, as a season ticket holder, for the money I pay, I would rather see better competition than cupcakes on the schedule.
Of course. All
right. Chris from Cottondale says, I would rather play McNeese than play 9 conference games. Doesn't matter if we play 12 conference games. UGA will never go to TAMU. UGA and Bama will always have the easiest schedule, and UF will always have the toughest. What do you think about that, JC?
I don't think any of that really makes sense, because you don't – I mean, Georgia's had the benefit of the scheduling. Let's be honest about that. That is true. But what did he say about the Gators?
He says we always have the hardest schedule. Usually the team Arkansas. It seems like Arkansas has the hardest schedule every year.
Arkansas and Auburn have the hardest schedules. You know why? Because Auburn always plays Georgia. They used to play Georgia at the end of the year, right before Alabama, and then had to play an SEC championship game. You tell me who's got the tougher schedule. Auburn, and look, it's usually the teams in the West that have harder schedules than the teams in the East, just because of the imbalance of the two divisions over the last, 20 years before Georgia got better, right? So, listen, the divisions are gone. I'm happy. That is one thing I am happy about. There are no more divisions. There won't be any divisions in any of college football, for that matter. But in the SEC,
the divisions are still there this year.
Well, okay, correct. But in 24, when the expansion happens, and I was very happy to see Oklahoma and Texas come a year earlier than we all thought. But the point is that divisions are gone now. So you're going to get the two best teams, not a 7-1 Alabama against a 5-3 Florida, blah, blah, blah. You're going to get the two best teams. You're going to get Georgia against somebody, okay? I'm already putting Georgia in there because, for God's sakes, just look at who they play this year and how the schedule works for them. So it's Georgia and somebody else, and it doesn't matter if it's Florida again in a rematch from the Gator Bowl game or from
that's not this year, JC. They're going to be playing somebody from the West this year.
I'm talking about 24. I'm sorry. I'm talking about 24.
They may lose all their players may transfer before that year. You never know.
Yeah.
Rick says Radio Road runs east-west and is the first main road through the campus south of the golf course.
Oh, that's correct. Okay. I thought he was talking about Tower Road where the towers are. All right. Well, Radio Road. All right, fine. East-west. There's just no room over there. I don't know. Maybe there is. They put a baseball park there, but we're talking about we need 300 acres for golf. Okay, so or 100.
All right, here we go. John has a question about starting Caglione. We're going to talk to Jeff Cardozo about all the baseball stuff. But Charlie says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mellon Law. I've heard Saban say before that each graduating class should play in each SEC venue. Now he's against it. JC, can you explain his reason why he switched his thought process?
Who, Jeff?
Have you talked to Nick?
No. Oh, you're talking about Saban? Oh, well, listen, look. I just think he's having a problem with the imbalance of the formula that was presented for 9 games that was never confirmed or given the light of day, for that matter. It was just talked about. These guys didn't know what they wanted to do, clearly, because this vote was so controversial, and we thought it was a rubber stamp for 9 games. How wrong we were. Mississippi State, Mississippi, Kentucky, they didn't want anything to do with 9 games right now. I don't know. I mean, I'm telling you, they're trying to get more money out of the television folks. And by the way, poor Big Red, he's working over there at Ironwood. You might want to ask him about what his plans are when the city shuts that place down, because I'm worried about that. I really am. I'm worried about that.
Rick is on this Radio Road. He says just demolish all the buildings. I don't know. Yeah. I still don't. Radio Road, where is it located again? It's south of the golf course. So aren't there I don't know if there's buildings there. South of the golf course, there's dorms, right?
You talking about
Flavet fields?
Is he talking about Flavet Field and all that?
I don't know. We're going to have Rick send us a map. I'm all about demolishing stuff now. There's some stuff that,
Listen, they demolished that god-awful McKeithen Stadium. That was a great idea. Put something good there. They used the land for a chondron. That was a good idea. They gave the girls 3 acres for their lacrosse runarounds. That was a good idea. I mean, they're making progress. Strickland I think he's been the guy that has always thought about improving things. When he got here, I think that was one of the attractions he had. He improved things at Mississippi State. He clearly did. But, I mean, look at Davis Wade Stadium. It went from crumbling literally into a pretty good place to watch football. And now we've got him up here in Gainesville building stuff. I have no problem with it. Foley wouldn't do it, so at least Strickland's doing it. And that had to happen if you wanted to stay competitive. We all know this.
All right, Mark, on the Titan Mark text line, Mark from West Palm. He says, can you explain how each team's schedules are determined? Who decides for Georgia who they are going to play? The league does it, right? Yeah, it's coming out of the league office, and I don't know. I just so June 14th, we're going to get the schedule. You're going to have the rivalry game, whatever that means, because Alabama's got every team's a rival for them. And, Florida, that could be – obviously it's going to be Georgia. It has to be. But what about LSU and Tennessee? Those are rival games. We'll see if they're on the schedule. There's no guarantee that in 24 those 2 teams will be on the schedule for the 8-game schedule. There's no guarantee of that, except the Georgia game. That is pretty much a guarantee. By the way, I'm going to put on my Florida Panthers hat right now because they're playing tomorrow night in the Stanley Cup Finals. I got $40 to win 200 out of a casino in North Carolina, 5-1 odds on the Panthers. I'm on the bandwagon with Keith Kachuk, Keith Kachuk's kid, Matthew Kachuk, and they're playing the Vegas Golden Knights. How about that? Expansion team's been in the league 6 years, playing in their 2nd Stanley Cup. Okay, Rick did send us a map here. But I don't want to click on it because then all my damn Radio Road. This guy Rick. Yeah, Gino wants to know what do I need demolished because he's got me. He is. So do we have enough? Do we have enough land? I'm thinking, okay, the road that goes around Lake Alice and then it dead ends right there in front of Conjuring Ballpark. Softball field's on your right. Yep. All those buildings and sheds and stuff to the left. Yeah. Can we tear all those down and build a golf course around Lake Alice? So what I'm looking at on your picture behind, you've got Condron right there, and behind left field, it looks like empty space all over the place. And I think that's exactly where he's referring. And sure, I mean, if you got enough acreage there, put the Natty Champs in somewhere good. Get the Natty Champs a driving range that they can hit driver on. Okay? What? Tony says, just fill in Lake Alice and the problem's solved. Yes. But then we don't have alligators walking across campus.
And bats.
I kind of like that.
Yeah, and you got to remember the bat house eats all the mosquitoes that Lake Alice produces. It's a great thing. But no, listen, I think Gino might be onto something. He usually is. That place behind left field, all that land in that picture I'm looking at right there behind your head, maybe that's an availability. I just want the national champions to be able to hit driver on the driving range, for crying out loud.
John says, did y'all see that they are having a big country music festival in Lexington this weekend, or having all the visiting team, well, the teams coming in for the regional are having to stay in dorms.
Yeah.
I wonder where the country, I wonder where the country concert's at. Is it at Rupp Arena or is it at the football stadium?
Yeah. Well, it depends on how many folks are in town, I guess.
I wish we'd have a damn country we need to have somebody come to the damn swamp again.
Yeah. That's well, you have this thing called Gator Growl. Is that over now? Is that done? They could have
Gator Growl is not what it used to be. All right, I gotta read this real here. Hey, Chris Storing Mortgage, they do mortgage lending right. Home buyers throughout Gainesville and North Central Florida. Call Chris Storing Mortgage today at 352-244-0840. All right, JC, before we get to Cardozo, when he chimes in here in a second. Last night, I don't know if you watched in the NBA, Nuggets kind of dominated the Heat. I think they're going to dominate every freaking game. Did you watch any of
it? That's done. It's over. That's over. And good for the Heat for making it interesting for their fans, but they've got a snowball's chance in hell of winning this thing. They're not winning it. But Denver's just got too much. We saw that last night. And maybe Miami's a little tired from that exhausting series with the Celtics, and it was, but it doesn't matter if they had a week off. Denver had done the same thing to them. Denver's winning this in 4 or 5. You can pick each number. It doesn't matter.
JC, I have a question for you and my listeners. You know, everybody. So basically, I saw this tweet. It says Florida's the only program with undisputed, unshared national titles in football, basketball, baseball, softball, men's and women's track, men's tennis, women's tennis, men's golf, women's golf, soccer, and gymnastics. The everything school. I just don't. That is so silly to me that when people quote, they always tweet the everything school. Look, we're good at a lot of stuff. I agree. I just don't. I don't.
Well, but the one that pays for that is struggling right now. But don't worry, they'll get it back. The thing, QB, is that I heard Steve McClain, my buddy over there at UF, say that after the golf championship, your guy Strickland, since he's come here, has presided over 9 national champions, and I can't come up with 4. But I don't know, because I don't know about all these secondary sports like the track and the individual.
Track's run a ton.
And probably swimming or something. So he's presided over 9 national champions. I got like 7 tractors over here mowing number 10. Sorry about that. But they've got, he's got 9. Did you know that he had 9? I didn't know that. That was pretty impressive.
Well,
everything.
I mean, Salt, was he here on Salt? I don't know. But the everything thing is just weird to me.
What do you mean it's weird? Why is it weird?
Well, I just say I'm not a big fan of like saying it or tweeting it. It's just like, look, we won a national championship in golf. All right. Yeah. Well, are we good at other stuff? Yeah. But the everything thing, I don't know. It's just weird to me. So
I'll tell you,
I'm the weirdo.
Florida has 8 SEC plus Florida State, Utah. South Carolina has 8 SEC games plus Clemson and North Carolina. Those are your 2 teams with 10 Power 5 teams on their schedule. And Georgia has 8 plus Georgia Tech. I don't know if they're a Power 5 school. And the other 3 are UT Martin, Ball State, and Birmingham. Go Dogs. Go Dogs.
Yeah, Tony agrees with me. The everything school is weird. I just think it's weird. So, all right, we're going to let you go, JC. I know you got grandpa duties.
Oh.
What, are you going to go to Chuck E. Cheese? What are you going to do?
We'll go to the beach, and next week I'll be back.
Are you going to? I'll be back on Monday. But are you going to ride wave, body surf? What are you going to do?
No, I'm going to watch the SEC network and hope the Gators are on. I'm going to listen to it somehow. I'm going to find out what's going on. And this is summertime. We have Hayden here for 2 weeks each summer. So.
All right. Well, Papa John, have fun.
All right, go Gators. We'll see you guys on Monday. And tell Cardozo that if he needs any help, I'll help him with that ironwood thing. I'm really concerned about that.
Yeah. All right. That's JC Joyce on the Titan Hotline. Going to take a quick timeout, come back, talk a little Gator baseball with the voice of the Gators, Jeff Cardozo. You're watching and listening to Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning.
We want to take this moment to thank our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, the only official injury and accident law attorneys of the Florida Gators. Peaceland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise.
Campus USA Credit Union.
QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Dave & Buster's, eat, drink, play, and watch. Our gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Celebration Point Town Center, Chris Doring Mortgage, Silverback Concrete Co., Ruse Ogre State Farm Insurance, Doreen Wibby, Realtor Caldwell Banker, MM Parish. Our touchdown sponsors are Adams Ribs, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Okido America, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills Cheesesteak, McDonald's of Gainesville, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, Aver and Smith, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, Silver Cube Billiards and Sports Bar. If you're interested in promoting your business on the show, call Freddie at 352-284-3733. If you like what we're doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Hi, Steve Spurrier here. You know, making a reservation at my restaurant is easier than a Saturday afternoon homecoming game against Vandy. You don't have to call or email. Just go to spurriers.com, hit the reservation button, pick a date, number of guests, and a time. It's so simple, I can do it. In fact, I just did. Maybe I'll see you tonight.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Celebration Points, where the Gators go to celebrate with premium brands like Regal Cinemas, The Keys, Dave & Buster's, Palmetto Moon, Starbucks, Visors, and the HBC's restaurant Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. We'll see you at Celebration Point, where the Gators go to celebrate. We're going to hit the Titan MR hotline now. We're joined by the voice of Gator baseball, former pitcher who used to throw just gas, Jeff Cardozo. How you doing, my man?
Great, Shane. Good to see you. Fun time of year. Obviously, I'm glad you still remember from 20 years ago that pumping it up there about 87 was Ched back in the day.
Yeah, no doubt about it. All right, Jeff. Big weekend series or regional. Gators about 5:30. Who knows what time it'll really start? Gonna play FAMU. Gators are way better in FAMU. Let's be honest. Are you surprised?
Yeah.
At all that Jack Caglione is going to start?
No, not at all. I think you look at all the factors that go into it. One, honestly, he's been really good down the stretch. I think even if you take away the start in Hoover, which there was a couple mistakes in the first inning, one was his own doing. I mean, he gets the 3-hole hitter to chop it right back to him. If he makes a good throw, then they're probably out of that inning. If Rivera catches a line drive, they're probably out of that inning. So the starts before that, I mean, he basically won the Gators an SEC regular season championship with what he did at Kentucky. So I think he's really worked hard over the last month to get better. And, you know, when it's all said and done, FAMU's not throwing their best guy. And he's thrown a lot of pitches over the last 2 weeks just to get him to this point. So if they're not even throwing their number one, then obviously the Gators, I don't think, need to as well. And then that way you got Sproat and Waldrop ready for hopefully Saturday and Sunday, get 3 games, get out of here, and get to a super regional for the first time in a couple of years.
Yeah, I was watching that game that Jack pitched, and as you said, the first inning, man, just some bad stuff happened. Rivera misses the line drive, and then for a guy as athletic and is such a quality baseball player as Jack is, he looked so goofy when he fielded that ball and tried to throw it to third base. It was hilarious.
Well, it's Shane. It's almost like, you know, remember back to when you're kids and you're probably teaching Luke how to throw, or even your daughter. Remember, they're stepping with the wrong foot. It's like they don't even know to step with their left foot, throw with their right. So he stepped with his wrong foot, it got all out of whack and everything else. And I just think, and you're right, he is so athletic for being as big as he is. He made a great play on a squeeze bunt earlier in the season. You know, a couple times he's done that, making plays. So it was just a kind of a weird thing. There's something in his mind about throwing to a base when he's out there on the mound. So he'll be fine. Everything will be good. And like you said, listen, if Florida can't beat Florida A&M with Jack Caglione on the mound, then they shouldn't even be in the postseason anyway.
Yeah. Before we move on to talk about some of the other teams in the regional, were you surprised he wasn't the SEC Player of the Year?
A little bit, but I think you also have to look at the way that Dylan Cruz, who won the award, was hyped up all year long. I mean, everybody thinks he's God's gift to baseball and the batting average and everything else. But yeah, the power numbers weren't necessarily the greatest. His on-base percentage, Wyatt even passed him at the end of the year. So to do what Jack did, I don't think there's anybody else that's really capable of doing that. There is a guy at Clemson that's pretty good, and there'll be a nice little battle for the best two-way player award, the John Olerud Award. But I wasn't shocked just because I didn't go in with the expectation that he should be. I guess I always felt that it was going to be Dylan Cruz, especially when you talk to all the writers and everybody that votes on it. They just always thought that he was the best player in the league.
John has a question here on Facebook Live brought to you by Mel Law. He says, Jeff, were you surprised at all that Jack and Wyatt were second-team All-Americans?
Yeah, and I think that's just one publication. The real ones will come out, and D1 Baseball America. I think those ones, if they don't have them on the first team, then there's certainly a problem. But it's just dumb voting by people that probably don't pay attention all year long. I don't really take much credence into that publication. Certainly the numbers prove that they should have been that. But again, I think it's like we see with anything else, Shane. You look at all these All-Americans for football teams. It's lazy voting. People don't look at it enough, and when the real ones come out, they'll be on the right teams for sure.
All right, looking at the SEC, I mean, obviously, this Gator team, you've been calling the games for a long, long time. 8 teams are hosting in the SEC, so we know week in and week out, it's just brutal. How does this team rack up in your mind? We all think they have a chance to win it all, but honestly, when you look at what they have, in the field, the lineup, the pitching staff, how far can they go?
Yeah, everything that you mentioned, I think everybody knows and everybody sees. But the cool part about me getting to be around the team as much as I do, I think it's some of the intangibles that, at least in my mind, make me feel like they've got a chance to win it all. So we know they can hit, we know they can pitch, they can play defense, they do all that stuff. But Shane, you've been around a lot of locker rooms, and there's been probably some really good teams you've been on, but guys don't really like each other and they don't really play well together. But I think that's what this team has. There's a gene. We saw it in the SEC tournament, the ability to come back, to never quit. I think you have some veterans on this team that decided to come back this year and make it a purpose to try to do something special and try to win. So I think more than anything, these guys love each other, love being around each other. Even down the stretch, when you've seen some of these other guys take other people's spots and play, say Colby Halter, he's the first one to high five somebody, even though Dale Thomas is now taking his spot maybe at third base. Or, when Fabian wasn't playing a lot earlier in the year, he's the first guy to high five. Like they care a lot about each other. It's a really good group. I think they've got 19 come from behind victories now this year, which last year, if they fell behind, no shot. They weren't going to win the game. So there's a lot of depth. He's figured out the bullpen, which I think to me in the beginning part of the year, that was the biggest question mark. And now that has gotten figured out, if I would be shocked if they don't make Omaha this year. I think that's how good of a team they have.
When you look at all the regionals around the country, obviously, baseball's a long, long season. UConn and Texas Tech are here. Good teams, good programs. Is it a more difficult regional than you thought as a 2 seed, or is it about what you expected?
No, I think it's fine, to be honest with you. I think a lot of people freak out by the big name of Texas Tech, and Florida's seen that name, and Florida fans in Omaha, and Florida hasn't done well against Texas Tech. We went out to their regional a couple of years ago, and we didn't even face them because we lost to the 2 crappy teams out there. But they ended up winning, going to the College World Series. But they're down a little bit this year. Listen, they don't pitch well. UConn doesn't necessarily pitch all that well either, and UConn's hitting in a lesser conference. So I'm not sure if they're going to be ready to see the stuff that Sproat and Waldrop have. We're talking about 2 first-rounders. So again, if those guys can't beat UConn or Texas Tech, then Florida doesn't deserve to win a national title anyway, let alone be in Omaha. So don't freak out by the name. I think when you analyze it and look at some of the numbers, UConn was a good team. They were actually in consideration to maybe host when it was all said and done, but they struggled a little bit down the stretch, and I'm totally fine. I think it should be a regional. If Florida plays the way that they've been playing, plays the way that they're capable of, win all 3 games, and don't even mess around and don't make it till Monday, and get ready to see if it's South Carolina or Campbell next weekend coming to town.
Yeah. So when you look around the country, were there any regionals where you think maybe a 2 or a 3 seed could come out of it and upset the 1 seed?
Yeah, I think there's a couple for sure. I might throw up in my mouth saying this, and I hope it doesn't happen. But Tennessee's gotten really good down the stretch, even though they didn't do well in Hoover. But he switched around his rotation. They've always had a really good team, and they've got to go to Clemson. Clemson has won, I think, 16 games in a row, so they're playing really well. But that's a really tough 2 seed for Tennessee to have to go there. I think you look at that one. I think if you look at it, out of the 8 top national seeds last year, I think only 2 of them ended up making it to the World Series. So there's a lot of parity now. I think there's a lot of lesser teams that you're starting to see do good. And I haven't analyzed it enough to say, okay, well, this guy's got a stud arm. He could beat this guy. But I would probably say that out of the 16 regional sites, I would probably say that you're going to have at least 4 or 5 of those where the 2 or 3 seeds ends up winning it.
Wow. That would be interesting. So I haven't really looked at, I guess we'll have to look at it once the weekend is over, how many teams from the SEC could possibly make it to Omaha. Could there be an entire, all 8 teams in Omaha, or is that not even possible?
No, I don't think it's possible. I think you'd have maybe 6, I think, as I first kind of looked at it, that might be an option. And it's hard because, again, Florida's paired with South Carolina. You wish they would do it where Florida was paired with, say Indiana State or something. So it's not 2 SEC teams, but because there are so many, you've got to be able to do that. And it's not a perfect system anyway. Tulane only wins 19 games and they win their conference tournament. And so you would think that they'd be the worst team out of everybody, at least from a record standpoint. So it's not like they're going to face the 1 seed Wake Forest. They're going to face LSU because of the regional thing. So they don't necessarily do it 164, 263 all the way through it like that. But again, I like Florida's draw. Shane, I know, you look at betting lines and different things. And I looked at one where Vegas actually had Florida A&M as the least favored team. Like you get, I think it was 50,000 to 1 odds. So if you want to throw down $5 and, on Florida A&M to win it all, you got a chance there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Florida A&M you would think is, a pretty easy 4 seed for the Gators to take care of business and then just do their thing. And I think the one thing you hope, it looks like the weather, at least today, has gotten better. You want the wind blowing out at the ballpark. And if the wind blows out, the Gators are very good at that place. They'll hit a whole bunch of home runs. They'll mash the ball over the yard against these couple of pitching staffs. And you just don't want to blow it in. So everybody look at their weather apps and say, hey, don't be coming in from the north, and Florida's going to be okay.
We got a text here on the Titanamar text line from Jonathan. He says, Jeff, in your mind, we know about all our superstars, big name players, but who's the one player that's kind of flying under the radar that can help us win this regional?
That's a good question. I think, I guess you would consider BT a superstar, so you can't really use that one. Dale Thomas could be a really big wild card here. Colby Halter wasn't really hitting the best down the stretch, but, Dale's a guy that was really successful last year, transferred in. I think they really liked him, but never really got an opportunity. And now he's playing over the last couple of weeks, had a huge home run in Lexington. Defensively, I think he's good enough. We've seen a couple of weeks now of at least reaction times at third where he can be doing some things. So I wouldn't be surprised if Dale Thomas gets a couple of big hits in this regional. And then from a bullpen standpoint, I think Ryan Slater, I think he's a guy that is going to need to come in and get some big outs. Slater was the guy that actually gave up the runs in the Oklahoma regional last year after the rain delay. He came in, so he's going to be wanting to redeem himself for that. But he's been awesome down the stretch, and Philip Abner's been really good. So I think there's a couple of guys in the bullpen. If they do their thing, then Florida's going to win the games, especially if the starters go out and perform like they have been. So yeah, that's there's a few off the radar guys, but this lineup's so deep, Shane. I think that's the best part. When you look at just the way it's built and 1 through 9, everything that's going on, it's equivalent to when he had it really rolling there in 16, 17, and 18 with those lineups. So they've got a chance for sure.
Are you surprised? Are the last 2 national champs, both from the SEC, both the Mississippi schools, didn't even make the SEC tournament. Are you surprised at kind of how they have fallen down in such a quick period of time?
Yeah, it is a little shocking. It's especially, I mean, you're familiar with both those Mississippi schools so well. I mean, the facilities are tremendous. It's awesome. I just don't understand how you all of a sudden you go from being at the top to not even making it, like you said. But when we faced Ole Miss, they couldn't pitch. I think they missed on a couple of guys from the transfer portal. But I mean, you can bet that Mississippi State is watching what LSU did, bringing in all the transfers. Arkansas, what they did, their entire infield is a whole bunch of transfers. So I think they're going to jump on the portal hard. You've got some really good coaches out there, and maybe it was similar to Sully. Maybe they just didn't think that the portal was that important. And I think all these guys are realizing now that, hey, you've got to be able to do that. I'd rather go get a junior that's got all this experience in college baseball than a freshman that you don't know how he's going to react. And I think they've relied on bringing guys into the system for so long that you now have to mix in a few guys here and there. And I mean, I'm not surprised if Florida goes in and hits the portal and gets 5 or 6 guys going into next year, because that's just what is now happening in this era of college baseball. And everybody else is getting good, man. You're seeing all these stadiums being built and all the things that are happening. So it's not like all these teams that, could wow you with facilities anymore, and you're going to go there because everybody's got these legit. I mean, look at right behind you in that picture. That's a pretty sweet ballpark right there. So you can get a lot of people to go different places now.
Yeah, no doubt. Who's on the call with you this weekend?
Sean, all weekend.
Okay.
So
all right. So we got the voice of Gator baseball and the voice of Gator football teaming up. So before we let you go, Jeff, obviously you kind of run Ironwood Golf Course, and we've talked about it the last couple of weeks on our program about the city wanting to shut it down. But man, there's nowhere to play golf in Alachua County. It's a terrible place when it comes to golf courses, and there's really no place for young kids who want to get into the game and learn how to play and go hit balls. Ironwood's the only place for them to go. Give us the latest of what you know about Ironwood.
Yeah, obviously it's tough conversations for a lot of people with all the budget cuts that have to be done. And I think though, when you look at it, and I think you're right, when you look at it from a standpoint of, I've been out there 20 years now, and I've seen people that we've taught lessons to 5 and 6 years old, and now they're done with college and they come back and they still play the golf course. So I think what people maybe don't understand is all the programming and the different things that we offer. We do a lot of stuff with Special Olympics and Reichert House and underprivileged kids coming over from there. The girls' place, they have a group that comes out every week. The summer camps that we do, and then, I mean, just the ability for to me, Shane, the biggest joy that I get out of that place, obviously seeing all the people and the camaraderie and all that stuff, like we talked about with just a team standpoint. But we had the Special Olympics out there a couple of months ago, and they had their area games, and I'm out there helping them and trying to teach them. And there was one kid, he made about a 17-foot putt and just ran over into my arms, like jumped into my arms. Like, I don't know if you watched the finale of Ted Lasso, like Nate did to Ted Lasso there, just spinning around and smiling. And it's just, that one moment right there, if that gets taken away from some of these kids, I think then it's just, I don't know what I do. I think everything that we've tried to accomplish out there is just to make sure that the community has an opportunity to play. And, golf is certainly an expensive sport, trying to keep it reasonable to be able to allow that stuff to happen. Being on the east side of Gainesville, everybody there, and the programming and the room rentals and all the stuff that we offer. So, the last 2 years now, Ironwood's never brought in more revenue than it has. And I mean, it's going to bring in, well over $1 million in revenue, and the things that are happening. And, I think the last piece, Shane, is, we saw Pat Dooley's tournament out there a couple of weeks ago, and all the money that it helped raise for Stop Children's Cancer was about almost $50,000. So when you look at the high school programs and all the events and the things that happen, I mean, we bring in well over $200,000 just in charity money alone for the community. So I think a lot of that stuff gets missed. It's not just a place where people come out and play golf. It's certainly a place that over the last 20 years, we've tried to make it really come out at 5 years old and 95 years old, and everybody in between is welcome. So it's, yeah, it'll be missed for sure if that's inevitably the direction it goes.
Well, let's hope not. One quick question here before we get you out of here. Joseph wants to know, where does our stadium rank in comparison to the other programs in the conference?
Yeah, I think it's probably top three now. I love South Carolina's ballpark a lot, but it's getting older now. What Mississippi State did is phenomenal. Kentucky, Alabama made new stadiums, but Conjuring Ballpark is way better than that. So if it's not two, then it's probably three. And now you're seeing what's happening. Vandy's about to do a major renovation to their place. Ole Miss, as good as it is adding like 40 more million to their place. So it's crazy what's happening right now. But I mean, more than anything, kind of like we talk about with the golf course and just, helping people, the fans. Like I look around a lot, like during commercial breaks, and I see kids running up and down the berm, and I see people being able to sit in the Adirondack chairs and having a beer behind the outfield wall. I mean, to me, that's the coolest part. It's just a fan-friendly place where you can walk around the concourse, get concession stands, still watch the game, and be a part of stuff there. So I'm really proud of what Scott Strickland and even Jeremy Foley when they started and what they were able to do to make it a place where the fans can come and enjoy it. And I hope the rain stays away because if it's not tonight, please pack that place tomorrow night for that 1 versus 2. That's such an important game in the regional. You win that game 2, then you're basically set. That other team now has to come out of the losers bracket, win 3 in a row. It makes it really difficult. So make it a good atmosphere, and then hopefully next weekend for Supers as well until the Gators try to get back to Omaha. First time since 2018, if that's the case. So feels like it's been a while for sure.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Jeff, let everybody know how they can listen to one of your other jobs that you do on a daily basis as well.
Yeah, Dooley and I 4 to 6 every afternoon doing the tailgate. So that's on the ESPN radio, so 98.1 FM, 850 AM, WRUF. There's the app on that, and then certainly you can tune into that same thing for the baseball game. So enjoy it, listen to it. If you're going to the ballpark, bring an earpiece in. Technology's kind of cool. We'll make it fun. Sean and I will goof off and hopefully be talking about 3 Gator victories this weekend.
Yes, indeed. Appreciate your time, my man. Have a good call this weekend.
All right, Shane. Always a pleasure, man. See you.
That's the voice of Gator Baseball, Jeff Cardozo. Join us on the Titan tomorrow hotline. Ruse Ogre State Farm Office is a team of dedicated insurance professionals ready to help life go right with the right insurance options for you and your family. Visit ogreinsurance.com. Give them a call at 352-240-1779. I want to thank Jeff and JC for joining the program today. Jeff does a tremendous job calling the ball games. He and Sean are a really good tandem as well. This Day in Sports brought to you by our good friends at Campus USA Credit Union. Put some star power to work in your financial life with Campus USA Credit Union. This Day in Sports, back in 1987, the Seattle Mariners drafted a dude named Ken Griffey Jr. as the #1 overall pick. Turned out to be a pretty good player. And that is brought to you by Campus USA Credit Union. If you missed it last night, Heat got destroyed by the Nuggets. Nuggets are up 1-0. Panthers and Golden Knights play tomorrow night, game 1 of the Stanley Cup Finals. Charlie asked Shane, when was the new baseball stadium opened? Gosh, was it opened during COVID? I want to say that year is when it opened. It's only been open a couple of years, but it is outstanding. It's a good ballpark, as Jeff said, fan-friendly. So I don't think it'll be packed tonight for the FAMU game, but hopefully, as he said, tomorrow, because game 2 is crucial to win that game, as he mentioned. So hope everybody enjoyed today's program. I want to thank everybody for all the birthday wishes. Yes, yesterday was my birthday. I turned 53. We're just moving right along. So it was 2021 when it opened, Vince says here. So I appreciate that. But yeah, have a great weekend, folks. We'll recap everything on Monday. We'll see you then. Take care.